Rock in the Upstate. We're live. We're local. And we're all about the Rebels. Right here on the Fan Upstate.
Well, week one high school football season is here, and the inaugural Rebel Yell underway on the Fan Upstate. 97.1 Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, 101.5 FM in Anderson. A big week for the Burns Rebels as you are listening to the flagship for the Burns Rebels right here on the Fan Upstate, also on the Odyssey app and on the iHeartRadio app. You can also watch the show tonight, the Rebel Yell, on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search the Fan Upstate, and we have a big show for you. You can come out to Tanago's Mexican Restaurant in Duncan. That's where we are. We'd love to see you here. We're here until 8 o'clock tonight. We'd love to have you stop by. We are in the back room. As soon as you walk in, excited to talk Burns Rebels football tonight with some players, assistant coaches, head coach Reggie Shaw as well. A big show lined up as week one is here, Independence Week, starting off with a North Carolina-South Carolina showdown at Nixon Field in Duncan. We're leading things off with Trey Segura, running back for the Burns Rebels, recently an LSU commit. And Trey, we had you on the show a couple of weeks ago on the station after your commitment to LSU. Has your phone quieted down a little bit after that commitment?
Yeah, it has a little bit. It's been really peaceful, allowing me to kind of focus on school and having a good senior year.
Having a good senior year, a big part of your goals. We talked about that the last time we had you on the station. You know, you've battled some adversity, Trey, and I want to start with that. But in your high school career, in your freshman, sophomore season, especially your sophomore season, dealing with some injuries, talk us through what it's been like to come into your senior season, knowing that you had some injuries. You didn't get to play a lot at all for the most part of your sophomore year. Last year you had a great season, but the adversity that you've had to deal with that's kind of got you to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that feeling that I kind of have a lot more to give. You know, I've left something on the table that year, and even though I had a good season last year, I still got I'm still wanting to keep pushing and kind of make up for lost time, so to speak. So there's still that always pushing me, and you know, always that feeling that I've got more to give, and I deserve, and the community deserves more.
What do you think, like when it comes to self-evaluation, Trey, and you like evaluate your skill set and how you perform on a year-to-year basis? How do you judge that? How do you measure that? Is it all stats? I mean, obviously the film and the stats don't lie, but how do you measure yourself on a year-by-year basis as a football player?
I mean, it's definitely that. I mean, obviously the main thing is how far was I able to lead my team and contribute to how far my team can go. And so the last couple of years we've fallen a little bit short, and so that kind of is reflected on me. But from a stats point of view, you know, I'm just about, you know, where I wanted to be last year. I met my goal, and this year that goal is 2K. So trying to just continue to get better every day, be successful, and ultimately, you know, show that by winning the state championship.
Talking to Trey Segura, running back at Burns High School ahead of Friday night's game against Independence, the home opener at Nixon Field. Again, we're live at Tanago's Mexican Restaurant in Duncan. Would love to see you right off of 290 tonight. We're here until 8 o'clock. A lot come on the show tonight. Trey, talk about your commitment, your recruitment process. Was it more hectic than you thought it would be, less hectic? Where did you, like when the dust settled, what were your thoughts on how the entire process was from start to finish?
Yeah, so I was blessed. I got recruited pretty much all 4 years of high school. So I had pretty much, you know, been through everything there is in that process and been through the highs and the lows and you know, the stress and you know, the Saturday night games that are something else across the country, different everywhere. There's a different atmosphere everywhere, but ultimately it taught me patience, and it taught me how to you know, treat people, anybody and everybody with respect, because people are always watching, and I continue to take that into my daily life.
You talked about some of those Saturday night visits throughout the course of the football season the past couple of years. Obviously something stuck out about LSU, and when you had your final schools that you were going to choose between or choose from, LSU wasn't one of those finalists. You and I talked about this a couple of weeks on the air a couple of weeks ago, yes, but what was it that kind of shifted your mindset, your mentality over to LSU away from those other schools?
Yeah, so the main goal was kind of just to be a part of, you know, a culture that I think is really moving in the right direction, something like we have here at Burns where, you know, I can you know, be a devoted Christian and play football at the same time and devote my life to both, and school as well as that. But
sure.
So when I got up there and Coach Smith, the first thing he talked about was his Bible study, and that really spoke out to me. And so when I finally got on campus, I saw that he really lives what he was talking about. And him and the staff they really care about their players and make life at LSU fun, and it's also serious at the same time. Obviously, it's a big time ball in the SEC, so it kind of just checks all the boxes for me, and I was really excited to get down there for the first time, and when I go to this game, I'm going to be even more excited.
No doubt. Trey Segura, last question for you. Independence Friday, starting off with a bang. You started off well last year against Teal Hanna. First game at Nixon Field, had a big run, and I'm sure you remember that one very well, and that one's up there in terms of your best runs last year. But how does Trey Segura set the tone for a good 2026 season?
Yeah. Now, obviously, we want the ball first, and we want to score first to just set the tone for the whole season.
You hear that, Coach?
Yeah. Ball first, score first, set the tone. Obviously go up big, score every possession, and no turnovers, and that's kind of how we'll get set for the season.
Trey Segura, running back, Burns High School. Appreciate you, man, as
yes,
always. Who's going next, Trey? Are we getting Wyquell Moss?
Let's get Wyquell Moss over here, yeah.
Wyquell Moss, linebacker for Burns High School. We have Crew Coons coming up as well. Wyquell coming in strong, seeing if he can follow up Trey's performance. Wyquell, how the heck are you, man?
I'm good. How about you?
Are you going to be the best radio personality of the three, the worst? Where are you going to rank?
I mean, that's just me. I think so, yeah.
You think you have the most personality of the three?
Yeah.
Funnier?
Yeah, definitely.
Who's the least funny of the three?
I'm going to have to say Crew. Say Crew.
Sorry, Crew. Trey Segura just joined us. We've got Wyquell Moss, plays defense, linebacker for the Burns Rebels under Fred Cross's system. We'll hear from Coach Cross, Frederick Cross, that is. We'll hear from Coach Cross a little bit later in the show. Crew Coons coming up here in just a few minutes as well. Wyquell, talk about this defense, man. You guys really good last year, but you lost a lot from last year's defense. What kind of chip on your shoulder do you have heading into this year in terms of what this defense can be? When you lose players off of last year's squad, obviously it hurts, but what kind of motivation do you have going into the season?
I mean, I knew that we're down a couple of seniors, a couple of players and stuff, so I knew we had to turn it up even more. Everybody, looking at our defense, we're small now, we're a little, we only got like 3 return starters or whatever, so I knew we was going to have to step it up, and, the past few practices, that's what we've been doing, stepping it up, no matter who, we step in front of, we got to, turn it up on, cross preach so much on, dominating everything we do. So that's been a big key in our defense and stuff, and, us just stepping up as well.
Talking to Wyquell Moss, linebacker for the Burns Rebels, plays in that Frederick Cross defense you talked about as we're live at Tanago's Mexican Restaurant here on 290 in Duncan. Wyquell, talk about your leadership role. You talk about losing guys off of last year's squad. How does your role as a leader on the defense change from last year being a junior to this year being a senior?
I mean, definitely. I think I put this in my article as well. I knew a lot of people, last year on the defense, they were leaders as well. You got people like Justice Hopkins, Jackson Delaney, Tyler Clark, Johnny. We just had a lot of leaders on the defense, and of course Josh Careful. So I had to step in too, because they also was looking at me as well as a big leader and stuff. So I knew coming this year I was gonna have to even step up even more and be that leader of the defense and do what I needed to do to stand out and to take a big role of this defense this year.
Leadership looks different to everybody. Is yours more vocal or is it play-led? What's your leadership style look like?
I think it's both play-led and vocal, because I do everything. I've got better at it than last year and stuff, being more vocal as well, and then playing because I know the people beside me, behind me, and in front of me, they look at me like Quell, we looking at you. We need that motivation. Everybody is looking at number 7 and stuff. So I know I just whenever I don't have it, they know how to turn me up. Whenever they don't have it, I know how to turn everybody else up. So we all on the same battery. We all got that same battery in our back.
Talking to Wyquell Moss, linebacker on the Burns defense. Who are some of the younger guys that you're trying to kind of mentor, help come up to be in a role that you're going to be here in a few years, but some of the younger guys on this defense that you expect to have a good season in 2026?
I want to say want to say Buddha, Nick Watson's little brother. I see a lot in Buddha so much, as well as Jeff. I definitely talk to Jeff as well, but Buddha, I really I see so much greatness in Buddha, and I stay on him, and he always asks me for advice. He always texts me, call me, and everything. He does he actually asks for advice and texts me whenever he needs me, and I just really stay on Buddha because he can be something great and he will be a big key in our defense this year.
Well, when you look at how the defense develops and comes along as the season approaches, here we are just a few days away from the first game. In your experience in the defense, well, what point do you really feel like, is it spring, is it summer, do you really feel like you're starting to gel in the defense, understanding what your role is and coming together as a unit too, not just individually?
Yeah, I feel like we came together in the spring. We was that team, that just go out there and get it. But we were still, not a closed fist. I always say we want to be a closed fist. I got this from Coach Shaw. We want to be that. We want to be that closed fist team, and we want to be that type team. And so throughout the spring and then the summer is when we really got tight. We faced some adversity, but we bounced back from that, and that's most definitely the thing that we wanted to do. And we just did what we needed to do to get back on our feet. We missing a key player on our defense, Killian Artilia. So definitely getting back up on our feet. But I feel like that first scrimmage showed how closed of a fist we are. So yeah,
allowed 0 goose egg, right?
Yeah.
What's Coach Cross? I mean, he talks about that goose egg a lot. I mean, what's kind of the representation behind that? A lot of pride in that, right?
Yeah, definitely a lot of pride in the goose egg. Cross, that's what we want at the end of the day. We want to dominate that. We want to dominate the front. We want to dominate the back end. We want to dominate the box. So that way, we can lead that goose egg on the team. And of course, we expecting something to eat after leaving a goose egg on the board. We expecting donuts, pizza, anything, wings, all of that. So we most definitely shoot for a goose egg every game.
I love it. Wyquell Moss, appreciate you, man. Good
Yes,
luck.
sir.
And we'll see
Appreciate
you
you.
on Friday night. Wyquell Moss, linebacker for the Burns defense, as we are getting the defense ready for Friday. If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Rebel Yell, the inaugural Rebel Yell, live at Tanago's Mexican Restaurant in Duncan, right off of 290, as we're talking Burns football players, coaches tonight. And we're continuing that conversation right here on the Fan Upstate. Crew Coons. Crew, these guys giving you a hard time. I mean, you going to let them talk smack like that?
Yes, sir.
It's good to have you on. I'm going to move your mic a little closer.
It's good not to argue. Like Wyquell said, close fist.
Close fist.
Yes, sir.
Close-knit group, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
what you want. Crew Coons, talk about what your role is on this team. You were talking to me the other day at practice. You've had injury in your career. You've
Yes, sir.
had a couple of different things, the adversity.
Yes,
talk
sir.
about that process to where you are now.
Yes, sir. So my sophomore year, I tore my ACL. That was a big turning point in my life. I was a receiver. Then I started long snapping, and that kind of changed my life. I got pretty good at it, I'd say. And now I'm a long snapper. That's my role on the team, and just be as consistent as I can. Yes, sir.
Long snapping from receiver. Talk about the transition from, anytime you switch positions, there's nuances and things you have to learn. But what was it specifically about going from a receiver, something you were used to? Talk about the injury there, and to long snapper. What kind of adjustment was that?
No, it was a lot different. Definitely receiver. You're on your feet a lot. You're running a lot. Long snapping, we're not doing too much at practice. We're just perfecting our craft, but definitely working. Yes,
So let me ask you. You said that you were a receiver. Had you ever long snapped before?
So my dad talked about it when we were younger. He's the one that kind of got me into it. But
That's credit, right?
yes,
Dad
sir.
gets the credit.
Yes, sir, for sure.
So talk about growing up playing football. If you're a quarterback, that's something that you're used to. You play. How long did it take you to kind of develop the skills that it takes to long snap?
It took me probably 6 months, I say, probably.
Yeah. Is that just in practice or in game situations too?
So my first game situation was against Irmo last year.
Okay.
My first long snap. I was pretty nervous. But no, it was just a lot of nerves, and they went away as the first one.
It seems like, Crew, and you can speak to this better than I can, but with special teams,
Yes,
nerves
sir.
are a big part of it, whether you're
Yes,
long
sir.
snapping or kicking. And, I don't play golf, but they say if you're golfing by yourself, it's one thing compared to if there's
Yes,
15,
sir.
20 people watching. You see kickers put it in the end zone, touchbacks in practice, not do
Yes,
it in the
sir.
game. What is it about the nerves and the special teams?
Oh, there's definitely nerves for sure. It's preparation. I say it's preparation, and then how you handle yourself. You got to have that goldfish memory. You can't think about the last snap, good or bad. You got to think about the next one.
Yeah,
Yes,
no
sir.
doubt. Talking to Crew Coons, special teams specialist, long snapper for the Burns Rebels. Last question for you. I asked Wyquell about leadership. What's it mean when you talk about senior leadership, being a senior leader on the team? Everybody has a different form in terms of whether it's vocal or just leading by example. What's that look like for you?
I say it's probably just by leading by example. I'm not very vocal. I need to work on being vocal for sure. But I think Wyquell is a perfect leader. I wouldn't say perfect, but we're getting there. He's very close. He's very close. Trey also is very very good leader.
Love it. Crew, appreciate you,
Yes,
man. Good luck Friday night.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk to you again real soon, Crew Coons, as we're talking Burns football on the Rebel Yell. We're going to take a break, come back. We'll be joined by Frederick Cross, defensive coordinator, and Schuler Bentley, offensive coordinator. That's all next right here on the Fan Upstate.
on the Fan Upstate.
Now, back to the Rebel Yell.
On the Fan
Mike
Upstate.
is hot.
The Rebel Yell continues as we are live at Tanago's Mexican Restaurant in Duncan, talking Burns football, getting ready for Week 1 versus Independence. This Friday night, it's the opener, the home opener at Nixon Field right here in Duncan. We're here until 8 o'clock tonight. Appreciate Tanago's hosting us. We would love to see you here and come out. We are in the back room. As soon as you come in, straight back, you'll see us. We've got a big crowd in here tonight. Would love to have you here with us at Tanago's. We're keeping the Burns conversation rolling, joined by Schuler Bentley, first-year offensive coordinator here at Burns High School. Coach, we talked to you on the radio as soon as you were hired, just a couple of days after. Now that you've had some months, 5-6 months to settle in, what would you say the biggest thing is that you've settled in with in terms of the unknown? You knew a lot about Burns when you got here, you played here, your dad coached here, but what were some of the things that you were, I guess, not to say you weren't prepared for, but some of the things that you maybe caught you by surprise that 6 months later you said, man, that's something I've had to kind of adjust to?
How to get around the school.
A little bit different than it used to be, right?
It's completely been torn down and rebuilt.
Nicer, though, right?
Yeah, it's a lot nicer. The roof doesn't leak when it rains. But there was a lot of times, those first couple of days where I had to close my eyes and be like, all right, this used to be the 600 hall. This used to be the 500 hall. I'm standing where the bus road went through the middle of the school. So, but no, it's a lot. A lot has changed, but a lot's still the same.
Lots changed also with the stadium. You played in a lot different of a stadium at Nixon Field, the old Nixon Field. You get to play or you get to coach Friday night in the your first time in the brand new Nixon. What were some of the memories that you had? I mean, you had a lot, but some of the ones that you still remember as the top memories for you playing at the old Nixon.
Yeah, there's a lot of memories. For 18 years, it was Friday nights there. So a lot of home games, a lot of wins, a lot of more good times than bad times.
Yeah.
But just from running, being the ball boy, getting on the field after the game and celebrating with the fans and community. Probably some other funny stories. Doesn't have to do with maybe playing a game, like maybe my brother jumping over the fence, breaking his arm, when they resodded the field, moving the stringer when they were painting the field and moving that and getting a whooping, So some memories don't include necessarily Friday night at Dixon Field.
That's awesome. Talking to Schuler Bentley, first-year offensive coordinator here at Burns High School, as we're live at Tanago's Mexican Restaurant in Duncan. This offense, Coach, in your first year, you've got some toys at your disposal, some weapons. Was that one of the first things you had noticed when you were applying for the job and throughout the process? I'm sure, Burns, you still had your eye on them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always kept up with them kept up with us from wherever I was. Even when I was playing in college, coaching in college, and then last year coaching in Alabama, it was always a score I would check on Friday night to see how they did, and obvious. So, and then there was also some reason to check in as well. Obviously, I knew Coach Shaw, Coach Cross coached with us on staff when I was here. Trey's dad, is still Coach Segar in my mind, but he was a lacrosse coach and a history teacher. So there was and Chu, his brother Rajay was coming up when I was older, so there were still reasons to check in and see how everybody was doing. I just didn't think that, at the end of this season, you're going to be coaching those guys. So when I got the opportunity, it was like, there's a lot. And then there was guys that I didn't know that I was like, yeah, that kid can play football. So it's been very fun.
Coach, when anybody talks about high school football, college football, professional, it doesn't matter. The first question they always ask is, who's your quarterback going to be? I'm not going to ask you that, but I will ask you, when it comes to the quarterback room, you have a pretty talented quarterback room. Talk about how you've worked through that and what options you have now to bring to the table.
Yeah, so we have a handful of guys. The two that are getting a majority of the reps were the same two that got the majority of the reps last Friday night in our jamboree, and Walker Burdett and Gideon Merheb. And they're both they're both going to play, and I don't know what we're going to do rotation-wise, but they're both two unbelievable kids. They're going to be great young men. They're going to be they're awesome teammates. They support each other, and it's putting me in a hard position too, which is good. Usually in quarterback battles, one pulls away, one does this, one's doing that, and it's like they're both doing really good, So, we'll make that decision later on. But they're both unbelievable kids. We as a staff have full confidence in both of them. and we'll see how it plays out.
Well, you know this better than anyone, but playing quarterback, it helps when you have weapons around you, regardless of who the quarterback is. Talk about the guy we had on earlier in Trey Segura. Just having a guy like that and Jacoby Fuller and others that you can hand the ball off to, and how that helps a quarterback's confidence.
Yes, it just takes for lack of better terms, it's a smoke break. You just get to relax for a second. Sit back, sit down in the lawn chair. Just chill out. Like, hey, let's lean on these guys a little bit. The O-lines, they're grooving. Let's hand it to 2, hand it to 3. And let those guys do what they do best. And plus that's one less person defending the pass too. So it makes this life easier. It's a quarterback's best friend's a run game.
Joined by Shuler Bentley, first-year offensive coordinator. You're at Burns High School on the Rebel Yell. The first one is we're live at Tanago's Mexican Restaurant. You've coached a lot of guys in your college and high school experience that you've had since you started coaching. Talk about Trey Segura and how special he is. You've seen a lot of running backs. You played with some really good running backs. You, in your high school years, were around a lot of good running backs, but the talent that Trey has.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, he's an unbelievable talent. But the other thing that makes him unique, and a lot of our guys too. It's not just him, because he rubs off on the other ones.
Sure.
So he's going to want to ask why. Why are we running this? Why are we running that? Why do we want to block it this way? Why is that our adjustment? Not just, hey, here's counter, run counter. Hey, why? This is why we're doing it this way. He's going to know how you want to attack the defense. I see him in the hallway between third period. He wants to ask, "What's the update on the game plan? What's this? What did you think about that?" And it's like, well, it's a different mentality that he has, and that's
coach as well, right?
Yeah, that's what separates him probably from a lot of people in his class.
It's interesting when you talk about guys you have back there. There's probably a lot of schools that would love to have Jacoby Fuller as their starting guy. And you talk about quarterback, both getting playing time. How important is it for you as the first-year OC to get both of those guys, Fuller and Segura, involved?
Yeah, I've been asked this question a couple of times: is what are we going to look like offensively? And I just respond with, some of our best players are going to touch the ball. And number 2 is 100% a part of that plan. And Jacoby's another great kid, and it's the true definition of iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
Like if he doesn't bring it, all right. Trey's bringing it, he's got to respond, and vice versa, right? And they push each other every single day. They're really competitive together on the field, at practice. But as far as maybe comparing it to years past, if there's any longtime Rebel fans out there listening, it might look a little different with some of the 2-back sets, but that's just the luxury we have with those two. And we're going to find ways and different creative ways to get them the ball.
It's interesting when you talk about guys that are good talent but also good players as well. With your quarterbacks, you talked about how good of a kid both Walker and Gideon are with Trey and Jacoby. I'm sure as a coach, you don't always get that luxury. You have the talent. Sometimes the talent doesn't match the character, right? Talk about the luxury you have with this year's offense, not only them being talented on paper, but also being good kids as well.
Yeah, it makes it fun to coach. It makes it fun to come to work every day. Yep. Like you don't have, they're 16 years old. They're still going to screw some stuff up. They're probably going to make, they might be running, 5 seconds late on something, but it makes getting on to them and coaching them fun, and they don't take it personal. They take it the right way. They have a coach me coach attitude, and they're a joy to be around. It makes it fun coming to work every day, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
Coach, last question for you. Independence on Friday. Early in the season, it's limited film you have on your opponents. Talk about what you know about this Independence team, especially on the defense.
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was able. With my recruiting year, I was able to have the Charlotte area, and one of the schools obviously you have to go to is Independence, and it's a very good program. They've had some turnover with their coaching change, but that's part of it. It's 2026. Coaches aren't going to stay somewhere for 60 years anymore, but it's a good program. They have really good athletes. Football is important there to those kids as well. And we were able to see a little bit of them last Friday night. And the thing that set off the film is 1, athleticism, but 2, just their speed. They get all 11 hats to the ball, so it's going to be a challenge. We're not just going to be able to wake up and cut the switch on, and that's the thing that we talk about with our guys all the time is that you can't just cut the switch on Friday night. It's got to be on from Monday all the way to Friday night. It's got to be on all the time.
Coach, appreciate you. Good luck on Friday. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Can I add one thing? What does Lane Fowler do on Friday nights exactly?
So he shows up about 2 minutes before we go on the air.
Okay.
And then he leaves as soon as we get off the air.
Gotcha.
And if he's listening, he does provide commentary.
Okay,
Commentary.
so he does work. Okay.
I don't know if you call it work. I don't know
Gotcha.
if you call it work, but if he's listening, yeah, he does a fantastic job.
Okay, awesome.
If he's
Awesome. I just
listening
wanted
to
to double check. That was all.
Are you going to replicate that role during basketball is what I'm asking you?
TBD.
Okay,
TBD.
gotcha,
TBD.
gotcha. TBD on that. Shuler Bentley, offensive coordinator, first-year offensive coordinator. You just heard him right here on the Fan Upstate, gearing up for Friday's big game home opener against Independence. We're live at Tanago's Mexican Restaurant in Duncan on the Rebel Yell, the first Rebel Yell, and we're excited to be joined by head coach Frederick Cross. Coach, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. Defensive coordinator Frederick Cross. Not head
Defensive
coach. That's Reggie
coordinator.
Shaw's
Did
job.
I say head coach?
You did.
I apologize on that. Defensive coordinator Frederick Cross. Coach, always a pleasure to talk football with you, and excited for Friday night. You know, I was asking Wyquell about the guys that you lost from last year's team. What have you seen from this year's defense that excites you about what this defense can be in 2026?
Well, we did lose a lot last year. We were senior loaded last year. We lost a lot of great guys that went on to play college. We went on to play college football. We've been in this situation 2 years ago. You know, we lost 9 guys not 2 years ago, and we still came out and played great defense. The standard is the standard for Strike Force. You know, we play the defense that we play. We plan to play shutdown defense every single Friday, and that's the way we practice. One of the things that stands out about this group right here, they like to be challenged. They like to be challenged. They're hungry. Yeah. They're eager to learn. So that's very exciting when you get a group that's young and they eagerly learn and they come to practice ready to work every day.
Talking to Coach Frederick Cross, defensive coordinator here at Burns High School. We talked to Wyquell Moss. You know, he had a good year last year, and in my role, I call his name a lot last year. He's all over the field. What are your expectations, but also what excites you about what Wyquell can be in a senior season?
Well, first of all, Wyquell is a great young man. He's the one that you would be proud to call your son. That's first and foremost. He's a great young man. He leads the team, the entire team. He leads the defense. So that's one of his better qualities. He's a great leader. He's going to be a great leader in society one day. That's the most impressive thing aside from the football with Wyquell. He leads our team. He was a vocal leader for us last year. He played a lot last year. You know, the thing about Wyquell, he's moving from outside linebacker to inside linebacker. So it's been a little bit of adjustment for him, but he's growing every day and continues to lead our team, and he's one of our better linebackers.
Coach, to touch on that for a minute, when you talk about moving from outside to inside or vice versa, at the high school level, is that a big adjustment?
It can be. It can be. The good thing about the way we run our defense, sometimes the inside linebackers have to play outside linebacker and vice versa. I ask all our guys on defense to learn 2 positions. And Wyquell's 2 positions was inside and outside, because as a sophomore, he played inside, then turned around and played outside. Now he's coming back inside. So as a JV player, he played a lot of inside linebacker. So it's not so much of a big transition for him, but it's still a little bit different from going from Thursday night play to Friday night play.
Are there traits, Coach, that you have to unlearn from one to the other, or no?
Not necessarily, because it's still football. You know, inside you're playing inside out, and then on the outside, you know, you got to be the force player, keeping everything boxed in.
Sure.
So it is a little bit of transition, but like I say, the way we play our defense, sometimes you have to do both, whether you're inside or outside linebacker. Sometimes those guys have to bump, and then they end up being the inside linebacker and vice versa. So it's not too big of an adjustment, but it is an adjustment.
Talking to defensive coordinator Frederick Cross on the Rebel Yell ahead of Friday's home opener against Independence. Coach, when you look at evolving as a coach, getting better, adding things, subtracting things. You know, in high school football, you see so many different styles and formations these days. Talk about, is someone like you who's been coaching as long as you have, how have you done that? How have you added wrinkles? How have you taken away things over the years? I know for your base and what you run defensively, for the most part, that stays the same, but how do you kind of self-evaluate on a year-to-year basis?
Well, one of the good things about this season, you know, Coach Bentley coming in, he's brought a lot of different formation shifts and motions, so we've been getting used to that from day one. We've been having to adjust and move and shift defensively from day one, so when we see different things, it doesn't bother our defense. It doesn't affect our defense because we practice against it every day. And when you practice it against an offense like ours with a lot of speed and athleticism and great players in the backfield, like out wide and up front in the offensive line, because we have a veteran offense. So when you're playing against a veteran offense with the type speed and the caliber guys that we have on our offense, it makes it harder to practice, but it makes it easier to adjust.
Yeah, especially in the game, right?
Absolutely.
You've seen it.
Absolutely.
Coach, when you look at this year's defense, I asked Wyquell about some of the guys you lost. You just mentioned some of those guys playing college football. When you see the development from young guys, Is it different for every player just in terms of how long it takes for them to kind of feel like they're in the system fully, understand what we're doing from a mental standpoint, but also having the physical traits to ask what is needed or do what's asked, if you will? Is that different for every player?
Yes. It's just the growth of the player. We got to meet the kid from where he is at that point, and then we try to get him to grow from there. We have some of the kids that we playing. A lot of those guys were JV players last year. They've grown a lot physically, okay, and now we're trying to grow them mentally and helping them being a student of the game, building their football IQ. I told them we want to be the smartest defense on the field all the time. We want to be the smartest defense in the state of South Carolina. That helps speeds our play up. So with those guys that's young, we got to grow them mentally. We got to grow their football IQ, and the way we work in the weight room, they're gonna grow physically, and hopefully they got some good genes as well.
On the mental aspect, football IQ, where does that growth happen?
That happens in the classroom. We have board work just like any other classroom. We do a lot of film study. Believe it or not, kids take tests, especially our secondary. They take tests. Coach Crosby, Coach Hicks, that's two of my assistant coaches, my DB coaches. They do a great job with those guys, and they quiz them, they test them. So they have to know the formation, they know the coverages, they have to know the checks. So when you're doing those type things, they have to know, and now we give them situations and scenarios on the field. It makes it easier for them. So they have to be a student of the game. So we study the game. We tell them preparation is everything. It doesn't just happen on Friday night. What are you going to do Sunday through Friday to prepare yourself so you're ready to go? So that's how we build the football IQ for the kids.
Coach, on the back end, you mentioned the secondary there. You've got Aiden Wiggins anchoring that back end, Auburn commit,
Yes.
A veteran in the defense. Talk about what you've seen from him from a growth standpoint and what you think he can be this season.
Well, Aiden he has the size, and not only he has the size, he has the strength. He's a big kid, okay, and he's a physical kid, and he's strong in the weight room. And of course, if you've ever seen him run on that 4x1 team that won the state championship this year, he can absolutely fly. He has a lot of speed. So it's good to have a corner that you can take care of that one half of the field with. It's always good to have a kid like that.
How does that help the other areas of the field? You know what I mean?
Well, that's one person we shouldn't have to help. I tell them all the time. You supposed to be the dude, so let's go be the dude. So sometimes your dude got to be the better dude, and we're gonna cover some guys out there that can play. He's accepted the challenge every time. He likes that. He wants that. He wants the challenge. He wants to cover the best guy, and it's only gonna make him better. That makes our defense better because we all want to accept the challenge. We're not backing down from anyone. He's definitely not one that's gonna back down either. But when we got to give someone help, we can always do that as well to the other side of the field and let Aiden lock down one side if we have to.
Talking to Coach Frederick Cross, defensive coordinator at Burns High School, from your time and experience coaching, what are some of the things that you have to do quickly in game one because you don't really get the full Friday night experience, Coach, in the preseason? Even though you have scrimmages, I'm sure you can attest that it's just not quite the same from a game speed, the whole 9 yards. What are some of those quick adjustments, some of those things that the defense, even when a young defense, has to do quickly in game one?
We want to start fast, first of all. We want to have success early. When you have young players out there, sometimes they can be fragile. And so it's good to be successful early, have success early, and that's going to breed even more success. It becomes contagious, and it feeds, everyone can feed off of that. And then we continue to build that momentum that's going into a lot of successful racks on defense, first, second, third downs off the field, 3 and outs, fourth down stops, getting our defense off the field, putting our offense on the field, and do what they do best in the HPO, score points.
Coach, last question for you. When you look at Independence on film, it's like I asked Coach Bentley, it's limited film this time of year. It's early in the season, so you don't have a lot of games to choose from. But when you look at their offense, you saw a little bit from the McDonald's Kickoff Classic last week. What's Independence do offensively?
Last question. I'm just getting started.
Let's go. We got all night.
I'm just joking. I'm ready to eat some of this good food. Ready to get some of this good food.
Let's do it. But, Independence offensively, what do they look
Independence
like?
offensively, if you look at them, it look like an offensive line is starting to come together. They have some good skilled guys. The receiver, number one, he's a big body outside. He's a hard tackle. I'm watching the film. It's hard to get him down. He's great hands, good speed. So he's the one on the outside that we feel like we got to stop. They have a good running back. He does not stop his legs. The running back, like I say, he's running through tackles. He's breaking tackles. He continues to run through contact. So anytime you're facing a back like that, we know we got to get to the ball and gain tackle. The quarterback, though, that's the one that makes them go. He's always keeps the ball alive. You know, when they sprint out, you know, if it's open, he gonna throw it. If it's not, he gonna take off and he does something with his legs. And he's not afraid. He looks for contact. He don't mind lowering his shoulder, trying to run over somebody. Watching the films that we have, you know, he does it in every film. He's, you know, trying to lower his shoulder, run over people, get back up, run it, and he'll run it again. You know, so the quarterback is the one that makes the offense go. He's good in the passing game. He can roll out. He runs the ball well, and he also runs a lot of design quarterback runs. So, you know, that's definitely one we have to stop, along with the running back and the receiver. And like I said, the offensive line looks like they're coming together. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good little test for us on Friday, and may the best team win.
Well, Coach, appreciate you. Good luck to you on Friday, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Coach Frederick Cross, defensive coordinator here at Burns High School. Final segment of the Rebel Yell coming up right here on the Fan Upstate.
Back to the Coach's
Mike
Corner.
is
You're
hot.
Locked into the Rebel Yell on the Fan Upstate.
It is the final segment of the Rebel Yell live at Tanago's Mexican Restaurant in Duncan. Appreciate them for hosting us tonight and every Tuesday at 7 o'clock right here on the Fan Upstate, getting you set for Week 1, Burns Independence home opener, season opener at Nixon Field, joined now by head coach Reggie Shaw. Coach, it's here. I mean,
It's
I don't
here,
know how
man.
it got here so fast. Do you?
Wow, it's exciting. You can smell it in the air, either that or the heat. I mean, I don't know.
I was going to say, can you do something about the heat before Friday?
I think it's going to work out for us, man.
Hopefully so. It's been brutal. How does the heat affect practice? I mean, it's every high school has to deal with it. But
Yeah, you got to have a plan. We're very blessed. We moved our first period football class early, and so we bring them in early. We're able to practice in class to beat the heat because the wet bowl will get you. I mean, once it gets above like 92, you can't do anything.
Sure.
Period. And then, as hot as it's been, we've been able to go out in helmets. Not really good to practice full contact football in helmets.
Not at all. Talk about Friday night, McDonald's Kickoff Classic. 4 teams.
Yeah.
8 teams, 4 games this past Friday. A lot of fans turn out as well. I'm sure that was something that you and your coaching staff just felt like you had to have. Was one of those games because the scrimmage on last Thursday got cut short.
Yeah.
River Bluff got canceled.
Yeah.
I'm sure going into it as a coach, you just felt like you had to have it, right?
Man, we were a lot of extra prayers on that going into there, so it worked out well. Got a little rainstorm, cooled it off,
Sure.
and then a lot of good competition. I think it was a well-planned event, and got to see a lot of good football.
What did you learn about your team from Friday night?
Yeah, we played fast. I felt like we were fresh and we executed fast, and that's what you want. A team that's hesitant is going to make mistakes, and we made a few mistakes, but we made them full speed, so that's something we can correct.
And anytime you get that goose egg, Wyquell talked about it, Coach Cross talked about it. Anytime you get that goose egg scrimmage or regular season,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're proud of that, right?
No doubt. That's the goal on defense and offensively to score every time you get it, and we were close.
Coach Bentley talked about it a few minutes ago, the quarterback situation. Everybody wants to know about the quarterbacks. And, he talked about how good of a kid both Walker and Gideon are and how great they've been on the field. And, they're both really good skill sets as well. What's it been like seeing both of them develop under Coach Bentley and that quarterback? Everybody calls it quarterback competition, but that quarterback process work itself out.
Yeah, I mean, just breaking it down to the fundamentals. When he got here, he started from scratch and just everything about setting your feet and how you throw it and delivering. And,
Sure.
So their IQ has continued to grow, which allows us to do more on offense.
Right.
The weapons that we got, man, if those quarterbacks are dialed in, can read it pre-snap and get the ball out there in space, a lot of good things can happen for us.
No doubt. We're talking to Coach Reggie Shaw, head football coach of the Burns Rebels, ahead of the season opener against the Independence. First time Burns and Independence have squared off. How'd that matchup, the meeting, take place?
Yeah, we're trying to look for an out-of-state rival, so to speak, and Charlotte has been great football-wise. We played Huff and played some of those guys in the past, so we put it out there, and they were the first ones to respond. And I think last year they played for state or were really close, and so we felt it'd be a great match, and all of a sudden their coach left.
Yeah.
And Charlotte's kind of shuffled some things around, but they still got good athletes.
Sure.
And good coaching.
Coach McFadden now at West Charlotte. Charlotte's Coach Williams now at Independence. It's like I've talked to Coach Cross and Coach Bentley. Limited film right now.
Yeah.
What does the limited film tell you, though, about Independence?
Well, it tells us they're athletic. They're long on defense. They can run. Offensively, they've got a couple good receivers. A quarterback's a dual threat, and I think he's probably their best athlete overall. And anytime he scrambles, he's got a chance to hurt you with his legs. But it also extends the plays, which makes it tougher to defend because those receivers can get open even on a busted coverage or whatever. So we're going to have to really stay home and pursue well and keep him contained. Got a couple good running backs. But overall, a young team. They graduated a lot and such. And so, going in, I feel really good. I feel like we've got some experience in some areas that we can take advantage of. And hopefully we just protect the ball and play well and don't beat ourselves.
When you talk about a quarterback that's a dual threat kind of guy, how do you prepare for that? Because, the past 2 seasons in the offseason, you've been preparing for the wing tee.
Yeah.
This year, a little bit different in terms of the skill set. How do you simulate that in practice?
Yeah, we actually do scramble drills. So we'll play 12 on 11, and after the play, we'll have a designated scrambler.
Okay.
And so after that first initial play is gone, then that scrambler is taken off, and just gets you conditioned to not stop until the whistle.
And then something Coach Cross and I were talking about as well, when you have a quarterback, when you're playing against a quarterback that has that skill set, you talk about staying home, staying disciplined. The last 2 years, it's the eye candy you have to watch out for. What do you have to watch out for when you're going against a quarterback like that?
Yeah, well, your ends are really the ones, whoever's contained, whether we got a blitz or it's an outside backer, you got to be disciplined, not run upfield. So we've been working the heck out of being under control, decelerating, and then find the guy and then leveraging outside in,
Yeah. Coach, when you look at the season a year ago, you've been coaching a long time. How does your offseason look in terms of using film, using games from last year to your advantage this year? Obviously, games where we were, on the wrong side of things, you want to flush them. But how do you manage that as a coach in terms of being able to use those moments to help your team going forward in the future?
Well, first and foremost, they're motivators for your guys and your coaches. And so you watch those in the off season. I mean, I've watched that Dorman film a lot. I've watched the Dutch Fork film, and those things that you, if you're going to get to where you want to be, you got to go back and fix those and find a way to win those close games.
Yeah, offensively, when you talk about the quarterbacks, you have two guys that are very good, but on the running back position, you got two guys that are very good as well, and Coach Bentley was talking about that a few minutes ago when it comes to wide receiving core, running backs, and the two quarterbacks trying to get their feet wet. When you look at this offense as a whole, what do you see as the ceiling in terms of what this offense can be?
I think the sky's the limit. I mean, you got two quarterbacks that are really good, and they both have different skill sets, so you've got to prepare for both. You have two running backs, and anytime they touch it, something good can happen. They're both great receivers. They're both great blockers. And so I think you'll see a combination of all of those. And he's done a great job of being creative. We're a spread offense, but you'll see 11, 12. You'll see two backs. You'll see a lot of different things. That'll be really, I think, hard to defend.
One of the off-season talking points for us and what we do is the reclassifications, new regions, new classifications. I know as a coach you can't control any of it, so you don't spend a ton of time thinking about it, but does it change like the game plan or the preparation for any of these games? Like we're playing all of our old region games up front and the Greenville County region that we're in on the back end.
Well, I wanted to keep those local rivalries for multiple reasons. Number one, you battle tested. You play great teams early. We're a young team on defense, so we needed to be tested early. Number two is gate. I mean, let's be honest. You want people that are going to pack it out on both sides and bring people in, and then just the excitement of those rivalries. Man, those things go back for years. You got to keep the Spartanburgs, the Gaffneys, and the Dormans on that schedule.
No doubt.
And agree.
And then they're coming up quick. We'll not talk about them right now, but Independence, a team in terms of their athleticism, something that's going to be a huge challenge. When you talk about keys to victory in order to get a full team effort, full team win, you scored 17 the other night. You gave up 0. Obviously, that's a complete win.
Yeah.
What's it going to take Friday?
Man, early on, teams beat themselves more than they win games. And so ball protection is key. Just stat line I look at is a turnover margin. Penalties, what are you doing? Delay of games, missed assignments.
Sure.
So the challenge for our coordinators was simplify this game. Let's make sure we can execute at a high level, not play confused. Confused players play slow and make mistakes.
Yeah, simplify.
Simplify.
Talk about some of your new coaches this year, Coach. You got some new faces on the coaching staff, right?
Yeah, I mean, start with Coach Bentley, man, has been a great addition. Burns guy who understands what it takes to compete at the highest level. Loves this place, loves kids, and done a great job with the offense, retooling it. You got Aaron Watson back, man. He was a great player. He brings a lot of energy on the defensive side. And then you got a lot of same guys.
Coach Elmore too, right?
Demarion Elmore done a great job from coming up from Woodruff, strength and then speed, and then a great job as a running back guy. Yeah. So those are mainly new faces right there.
On the defensive side, you've been with Coach Cross now for
10 years.
10 years. I think this is his 14th season at Burns.
Yeah.
When you have that trust with somebody, that continuity, how does that help you as a head coach?
Well, he knows what I'm thinking, and I know what he's thinking, and we're on the same page. We played college ball together. We're, kind of same mindset on defense. We're gonna apply pressure, but we want to be sound fundamentally, not give up anything deep, and make them earn everything on the run.
Yeah, how was he as a college player? Pretty good?
He was tough, man.
Yeah?
He was tough. Yeah, he'd get after you.
I saw some record book stuff that included his names. I mean, pretty good
strong,
games he
fast, athletic, brought a little juice.
Yeah, well, Coach, appreciate you, number one, and look forward to Friday, and we'll talk to you for the Burns Rebel pregame show here in just a few days on the pregame show Friday night at 7 o'clock, but excited to continue the Rebel Yell this season, and good luck Friday.
No doubt, man. Hey, shout out to Tenagos and you, man, as well. This is a great venue and great opportunity to showcase the Rebels.
It sure is. We'll be here every Tuesday, 7 to 8, live at Tenagos Mexican Restaurant. We'd love to see you talking Burns football players, assistant coaches, and more. Until next Tuesday, we'll see you Friday night, 7 o'clock for the Burns Rebel pregame show right here on the